Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Ecoffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about how to use your brand story to drive customer engagement with none other than John Roy. John is the Director of Web Development and SEO at MedTech Momentum, a full-service MedTech marketing firm based in Altamonte Springs, Florida. He holds a degree in computer programming from Kaiser University and is a Microsoft certified professional in requirements and defining solution architectures. Currently, John is enrolled in the Interaction Design Foundation for his studies in UX design, and he has been creating highly effective website solutions coupled with tangible results for small, medium, and large-sized businesses for the past 20 years. When not working on marketing campaigns for clients, John enjoys playing in pool tournaments, stock car racing, and relaxing on the beach with his wife. John, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's my honor, Matt. Thank you very much.
Yeah, right on. So you've had an interesting journey so far, John. How would you describe the kind of person you were in high school?
Wow, high school. I'm going to even go back further. I'm going to start in elementary school. My teacher had a current events board up, and she did her best to update it. Mm-hmm. And at a very young age, my mother put a newspaper in front of me. And I started to read it every morning. It was like a daily morning cereal, and then read the newspaper. I felt like my parents. I wanted to emulate my parents. And I started cutting out articles that I found interesting, and I'd bring them in. And next thing I knew, the teacher was like, "You are now in charge of the current events board." So it stemmed from the newspaper to school activities, intramural sports. I would actually go home, watch an intramural sports in elementary, and write up a story and bring it in. Oh,
wow. That's neat.
I guess web design and things started early. Started early for me.
We're in your blood even back then. Not to date either of us, but before the internet was even a thing.
The internet, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't even know it. There was no thought of it.
Yeah, exactly. So then as you grew and grew up, did you continue to stay involved in those things in high school? And
I stayed involved. In high school, I did stay involved. The newspaper, to classes. I then found out that our school offered some vocational activities. One of them was photography. Another one was electronics. I chose electronics. I think I have a left side and a right side brain that needs to be fed differently.
Me too.
The electronical and the programming side, and then I had the creative storytelling on the other side, and it kind of fed me through and got me through high school before my stint in.
And is that what it impacted you to go into computer programming?
Yes, it did. No, actually, let me step back. I was taking a video class, a video production class, and I would get in front of the screen, and there was another gentleman taking the class with me, and he was a programmer. And one day, by circumstance, we were on a project together, and he says, "Hey, I got to finish up this project for another class." So do you mind showing me? And he goes, "Yeah, no, let me show you." And next thing I know, he has me typing out programming, and he goes, "Wow, you just program code." And I was like, I'm changing majors. I was actually going for a communications degree, and I quickly over to programming. So that's how I found programming.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really neat. And so, how did you go from computer programming to maybe if you could just share a little bit about how that experience has impacted you and drawn you towards the website and marketing side of things? How was that journey?
That journey started, I'm in programming class. The left side of the brain is getting fed. And of course, I'm a poor college student on student loans. And I'm thinking, how the heck am I going to pay this bill off when I get out of school? So as I'm working in my class, HTML programming came up, JavaScript programming came up.
Okay.
The teacher's showing us how to use it. And I was like, this is now we're like in the beginning of the internet here. And There are websites out there. So in my head, there's two things a company is going to need: a database to keep all their information in a informative way, all the data they're collecting in an informative way, so they can make wise business decisions. As well, they're going to need a website to engage their end users. So when the teacher turned to us and said, "Hey, go get an internship," that's pretty much what I ventured out to do, was to find a company that needed a website and such. So,
okay, well, that's awesome. So that's pretty neat. I mean, obviously, college has become more and more expensive, and figuring out a way to monetize the knowledge that you're learning, and to be able to monetize it as fast as possible, to be able
as fast as possible.
Exactly. And that's a smart way to do it. So you worked at Score 87 Business Consulting Services. What was your experience like working there?
What a tremendous experience. If you don't know what SCORE is, it's the acronym. The acronym stands for Service Corps of Retired Execs. So I was the CEO, I was the CFO. I'm retired now, and some people know what retirement is. It's a lot of doing nothing, waking up, having coffee, and figuring out what you're going to do. So a lot of these executives got together and wanted to help small businesses that maybe are not capitalized or have enough resources at their fingertips. So SCORE would take them from business plan to actually launching their product.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, amazing. It's an amazing organization. It's free, which, trying to say, if you're a small business and you're needing a lot of resources, SCORE may be something you want to look at for help.
And it's still around to this day.
Yes. That's amazing. Even every 50 states, they have SCORE organizations that will help the local business person have a chance to succeed, because, I mean, business is hard enough, a lot of competition.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And school, to me, does not teach how to be successful in business. They teach you fundamentals of math and such.
It's interesting. They don't. The things I've learned about entrepreneurship from being a business owner, and even the way the business is set up, and accounting, and there's a darn book I was just talking about earlier. It's about profits, and I can't remember what the name of the book is, but Profits First. Gosh, it finally came to me. Phenomenal book called Profits First, that I think every business owner should read. And I wish someone had told me to read that, 10 years ago, when I first incorporated my company, or more than 10 years ago. I would have set things up a lot differently. And, I talked to one business owner, SEO guy, and he had a business mentor who was in manufacturing, but yet taught him business. And it's vastly impacted his business and his career and his ability to make money. And the correlation is, it's very similar. The principles, Matt, between manufacturing a chocolate and manufacturing a backlink, and doing the things that we do, it's very similar in those principles. But you wouldn't know that unless you had a mentor. So I'm tying that back to this Score 87 Business Consulting Services in regards to the value that can bring to people in order to make or break and be successful or not. That's unbelievable. What were some of the projects you worked on while you were there?
So, of course, being a web guy, they had me look over their website, which wasn't the best presentation of them. We're talking about responsive. Now later is coming mobile devices. Oh, I can show a website on a mobile device. Oh my Lord, I can't read my website on this mobile phone. So, so one of my taskings was to revamp their Score 87's website. And then, of course, as I said, they offered classes to the small business owners. So I was giving about a monthly webinar class, or not even a webinar, but an actual class where people attend and I'd speak on website 101, SEO techniques and such, explaining what a domain was, what a website was.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. So a lot of great questions out of that from the audience. You could tell they were so thirsty for knowledge. I'm a struggling business. I barely have enough resources to take my idea to fruition. And we would talk on business plans and taxation and such. So
wow.
My area of expertise was digital marketing. So I would speak to them on that. Or business
wow. And just for people who are wondering, it's score.org and score 87 was the chapter.
Score.org. 87 was the local chapter.
The local chapter, yeah.
Yes, that had.
How would you say that experience has impacted your career today?
Without a doubt, the best decision I made, because it became my test bed. It became my experience to talk to that client that, again, school doesn't prepare you for. So now here I am, real life experience, real clients, real struggles. And my job was to guide them to the promised land, at least in the digital marketing area. That was my
absolutely. Hey, John, what would you say are your thoughts on using stories to build the brand of a business?
Oh,
the importance of it, I guess.
Storytelling has 4 superpowers. I mean, rip the shirt off, CDS. I mean, emotional, attention, belief, being memorable. I mean, you've watched a movie that you love and you could tell the story from start to finish.
Oh, for sure.
The story was so engaging. You've seen yourself in that story.
Star Wars has got to be one of the greatest stories ever told.
And that's one of the best examples of storytelling, in my opinion.
Yeah. So how can businesses translate something like that? And what's the impact that you've seen in regards to, do you have any examples you can share of a business that's used story, and how can they do it? Like what's the big idea? And, there's probably some executives sitting there going, what the hell are you talking about? How am I going to use a story in my business? I just want to sell stuff. I just want to get leads. I just don't give a
Matt, let's step back to the beginning of the internet, the websites, or beginning of websites, 91, and the evolution of the website. It was like place every piece of information we have about this company or a product and put it on a web page. So web pages were information. They were a really big, to me, a user manual.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was not engaging. I mean, paragraph after paragraph, and you know how that goes after a while. So when you package your message within a story, I think research has found it's 22 times more memorable than just presenting facts.
Wow.
Our brains, since Stone Age, were wired to survive and thrive. So a story that was going to make you survive your challenge is memorable. It's your brain is wanting that, rather than a bunch of useless facts about a product that you don't see yourself with.
Yeah, maybe hearing the story about the guy who got eaten by the saber-toothed tiger and what not to do and how to avoid.
How to avoid the dinosaur eating you. Yes. How to not freeze during the Ice Age. I mean, those were stories that would be engaging to a Stone Age.
Yeah.
And it's true today.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It's true today, because I heard a quote a while back that said something about, you can take the person out of the Stone Age, but you can't take the Stone Age out of the person, meaning that survive and thrive theory that I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So what part, we're talking about here stories, and every good story has a hero and a villain. Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and Palpatine, the evil emperor. And then there's the sidekicks, the Han Solo and the Chewie and the robots and whatever. But, in regards to a story for a business, what role and part do they play with their customers? Or should they play?
That is a great question. That's a great question. Your website should be the Yoda or the Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about the Yoda.
Your end user is Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, and he has to defeat the Death Star. And Yoda or Obi-Wan Kenobi use the Force. If you don't use the Force, the universe is going to fall under the Emperor, the evil Emperor, and everybody's going to hate life.
Wow. So you position yourself as the guide, as the Yoda,
Yes.
and
The
staying
Yoda.
with this Star Wars theme. And your customer is the Luke Skywalker looking for an adventure or looking to solve a problem or looking to...
He has a challenge. He needs to face that challenge. He needs to meet that guide, that Yoda, that Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
He has to be given a roadmap to success.
Yeah.
He needs to be warned of what perils face if you don't follow this cadence or flow.
Yeah.
And,
Could you...
and then they need to be told that they're going to be successful if they do this.
Absolutely. So what are the ways some of the businesses can do that? And if I want to, I mean, if you can use it, maybe an example from in generic terms, not revealing any, brand names or anything like that. If you can, in tying that together of how that can be done.
So we've looked at
I could give you, for instance, if you want, if it makes it easier, but for instance, a renovation company. Let's just go there. Okay. Just because I know that it's a topic I know about. Yeah. So what role? So obviously they're going to be the Yoda. But feel free, by the way, if you have a different idea or a solution or something that comes to the top of your mind while we're talking, feel free to interject and change it. That's fine with me. I'm just trying to give our audience an idea of maybe a tie down to relate to a certain story as we're talking about using stories. So anyway, we can start, or we can go with a plumber. It doesn't matter to me either, or
we can go into
jog your memory.
Almost anything because.
Or hey, how about this one? You guys work with medical companies.
God, yes. Medical technology.
So talk to me about that then. Forget about the other things we just mentioned. What about one of your clients? Elaborate on that, because like in MedTech,
the MedTech community is, actually a very good example. One of the downfalls to me about storytelling or storytelling is putting in too much noise. Most of medical technologies companies are manned by very smart people. Their vocabulary would have you going on Amazon and buying a thesaurus to figure out what exactly they're saying to you. So what a company needs to do is simplify that story to bring it down. So, you know what? Let's go back to success or the framework for success. So first thing you need to do is develop a buyer persona. With that buyer persona, you're getting a fictional representation of your ideal customer. Who are you talking to? What's their age? What's their internal challenges, their external challenges? How are they going to consume your content? And what part of the story is going to resonate with them to bring them in? So once you have your buyer persona made, you want to look at your brand messaging. And does that brand messaging convey what you're putting out to them? Is that going to teach them to how to survive and thrive in an industry? Next, followed by your brand identity, which is your representation of your company, your values. Next, we'll fall into actually the content marketing. So it's your website, it's your social media. Are we all telling the same story, or do we have consistency within that content marketing and all the touch points that buyer persona is going to fit? If it's B2B, LinkedIn is a very good example. You want to be publishing LinkedIn to reach that B2B customer. If it's B2C, maybe you're looking at Facebook, maybe you're looking at Pinterest as another hub or another touch point for your end user with your storytelling. So, anytime I get asked, well, what's the most successful campaign you could think of?
Goodness.
Apple comes to mind right away to me with the Think Different. IBM at the time was pushing Think. Apple came and carried that with Think Differently. They created that counterculture aura. You don't have to be a slave to this. Come to our side. So.
It's interesting in developing the buyer persona. There's two things I want to talk. I'm going to try and keep this. In developing the buyer persona, you're really learning about your hero.
Yes,
who the hero
is. Yes,
and what
you are.
challenge that hero has, and what challenge that hero is trying to solve. In tying this to the story framework, so your persona really is your hero, and you're trying to develop, who is like Luke Skywalker, your Luke Skywalker. What problem does he have? What limitations does he have? What is he trying to solve? And so that's pretty critical, isn't it? In regards to, because so many people think marketing is just like Dan Kennedy taught me, people think that marketing is just the medium, the final stage, the medium, just put an ad on Facebook and watch the customers come in, or put an ad on Google Ads and watch the customers come in. But it's not, that's the last part of it, the medium.
God, I wish that was that easy. We'd all be millionaires, right?
Yeah, exactly. He talked about the medium, market, and message. And in order, you have to know who your market is, then you develop your message, then you choose the medium. It doesn't matter what medium it is. Once you've got your target market persona figured out, then you can start to develop your message. And so you talked about that. And then in regards to the developing your brand, I guess that's developing who you are as the guide, right?
Yes, sir.
And the ways that the voice of your brand, whether you're going to be Yoda, or whether you're going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, or whether you're going to be whatever his name was, the guy who got killed, Kaijon Singh or whatever, I have no idea what his name is. But which guide you're going to be, and which type of guide you're going to be, and how you want to position yourself, I guess, But who is the evil? Who is in the story for a business building a brand? Who's the villain?
Oh, the villain could be almost. Is anyone.
The villain the problem?
Every great story has a challenge. If it doesn't have a challenge in it, the story is just going to be just a simple story that's not going to be memorable. There needs to be challenges within a story. So some companies need to be open to be vulnerable. Startup companies can talk about their challenges. So again, their message is felt emotionally branded by the end user, so they could see their struggles to come up with a solution. And now here I'm offering the solution to you to help guide you to where we once were, to where we once. So again, the challenges, and anything that makes me fail is the villain in this story, whether it's a human being or some theory. That's the evil.
Okay. So it's interesting because I'm thinking about who could be the villain, and in tying this back to, just because I'd love to hear some thoughts of yours about some of the ways you've done that with some of your clients, but I'm thinking the villain could be bad actors in your industry. Like for a renovation company, it could be like, do you really want to get ripped off by a crooked renovation company?
Are
less experienced.
The guys who aren't licensed, the guys
those are the villains that you need to avoid.
Bureau forums, people saying, run from this company. There's your villain. We're certified professionals, and we're here to help your house look better. We want you,
or to give you the advice.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, it could be the villain, could be the bad actors, the worst people in the industry. Because let's be frank, whether you're a renovation company, or whether you're a web designer, or whether you're a dentist, or a plastic surgeon, or a lawyer. Let's say a lawyer. You have bad actors in every single one of those.
Great example
of those industries. So you could use those as, hey, I didn't realize lawyers were bad, and how to until I needed one. Anyway, and appreciating the good ones versus the poor ones until I needed one. But anyway, but the point I'm trying to make is, you could, the villain could be the problem. It could be the challenge. It could be the challenge of finding the right solution and avoiding, the people that will trip you up and cost you money and that such. Would you agree? I mean, I guess I don't mean to go on and on about it.
Oh, no, Matt. No, you're doing.
I just find it very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
What about, so how can businesses get started? Like, what would if a business came to you and said, hey, this sounds interesting, we'd like to get started. What would be your suggestions or tips or advice for them to start to
Again,
develop this?
if a client comes to us, we walk them through what we call the MT7 framework. And
Oh yeah.
that is 7 steps to get to the promised lands. I touched briefly on that in my earlier answers, but here, let's look at the good components, or the key components of a good story.
Sure.
Be authentic.
Exactly.
Why does your brand exist? What gap in the market are you trying to handle? What was it like early days? Whether you're a big company or still in a startup. So think of some of the magical moments that help build your company. Again, we want to emotionally tell a story or get emotional branding with the end user. What does your brand offer? What is different from other competitors? Whether are using high quality material, or you're pledged to being more sustainable, especially in today's world where we're talking climate change and such. I mean, is your product going to damage the? No, our values are unique from the competitors who are just mass producing these plastic bottles all over the place. Here we have a new water container for you that is sustainable, and it's not going to wind up in a landfill or in the ocean. Next component, of course, is to know your audience. In order to persuade people to choose your brand, you need to know what makes them tick. User research and data helps to inform how to tell the story from the copy and design of your product that you offer.
Yeah, you just touched on something: the importance of copywriting and the voice of the customer in order to tell your story.
Communication. The problem you're solving, part of storytelling in a brand story is communicating the problem you're solving, from simply things like, a better medical implant that's not going to affect the doctor's ability to see the a spine tumor in somebody. Sometimes metal implants will cause this interference in your body that masks what doctors are trying to see. So when a company will come along and produce an implant that does not interfere with radio imaging and MRIs. So
what you just mentioned could be called a unique selling proposition, a USP. And so right now you've got me thinking about how the value of a USP plays in developing the USP as part of your story and the foundation of your story. I mean, exactly what you just said is that solution is unique to the market, that solves a problem that nobody else has. And telling your story around that's pretty phenomenal.
I most certainly agree with that, what you said. I was able to convey that. Yes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That just got my brain going. Do you think all businesses need to tell stories in order to be successful?
Oh, if you are not using a story technique in today's world, you're missing the mark. You're filling your end user with too much noise. Confusing web design. It goes through everything, social media feeds, what have you. If you're not telling that story and being consistent along all your touch points,
all your channels,
channels.
It even gives you the blueprint for your social piece. Some people don't even know what to post on social media. They don't know what kind of content to create. They don't know what blog posts to publish. When you really take the time to figure this out, it really gives you a blueprint, right? To develop all of those things. A roadmap. There you go. A roadmap.
I mean, you get in your car, you don't aimlessly drive around.
No. Absolutely.
You have a point, and there it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, what kind of marketing campaigns then? Like, do you have an example of a marketing campaign that you developed as a result of building a story brand for one of your clients that you could share? Or do you have to keep all those things tight-lipped? If you want to plead the fifth, it's fine.
I want to plead the fifth only because we do NDAs with our clients. So I'm really not
fine.
At liberty.
No, I don't want to dig. Yeah, absolutely.
We could talk about the dangers of storytelling and on that point. So overdoing your story, a lot of times, again, we're working with very highly intelligent clients, and simplify the message down. And I think last time I checked surveys, your reading level on your website should be around the 8th grade reading level.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
At one point,
That's
I think it was
amazing.
the 6th grade level, but I think something happened to increase
Something
that.
happened that the general population got more educated and intelligent. Because, yeah.
And it's funny, especially when we're trying to convey message to the patient, like the ultimate end user of a MedTech company's product is, of course, a patient with whatever ailment, disability they may have. So when you put long medical terminology, you're confusing your client. So again, story right to that patient, so that patient can understand it, engage, see themselves as, oh, wow, I'm having the same problems, and wow, they did this, and wow, they're back to life. So, so a part of that is the complexity conundrum, or what I like to call adding more stuff to the story to water down your story, and that's a part of the problem.
So you need to trim the fat, is what you're saying.
Trim the fat out of your story. If your story is 5 paragraphs long, you're not conveying a message accurately. People will look at your website. They do, as you probably know, they do a Z pattern on your website, and they're scanning for something that hits in that story. They should be just reading big snippets and calls to actions to solve their problems. So,
do you think people should be able to, businesses or should be able to reduce their story to one sentence, like an elevator pitch?
Elevator's pitch is probably the best example of a
work towards that.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
I was
in
a store webinar one time, and the speaker at the time asked people to step up and tell what they do, and they like, "Oh, I work for a big marketing firm," and da 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 da, and she goes, "That's
just on and
probably
on,
the worst thing I've heard." So they said they said to tell them what you do. So I changed my elevator speech to, they goes, "Hey, so what do you do, John?" I say, "I'm the guy you call if you need to have a very responsive, engaging website."
Yeah.
And you can see the reaction on their face rather than say, "Oh, I work for a MedTech company. I've been there for 8 years and I've built 100 websites." And no, it's, I'm the guy you call if you need a website that is going to engage users. And then they stop and they tilt their head, and next thing you know, they're either asking for your phone number, your business card, or what have you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sometimes it's the best. Simplicity is the mother.
So that's one thing to, one thing to work towards is what I was trying to say is, in some ways your story could be reduced down to an elevator pitch. And building upon that as well as your USP. And then what about, like, do you want to reduce it to like certain amount of steps that people should take in order to work with you? Like, step 1, 2, 3, here's what you need to do to work with us in order to solve that challenge that the hero as the guide is facing to bring people through the journey.
Yeah. Again, we're going to reduce it down for you. Again, your customer is the star, not your technology. We're going to focus on that person that has that challenge, that meets the guide, who gives him a roadmap to call him to action and to avoid the failure of hiring the bad lawyer, the bad actor, and be successful and live happily after.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any thoughts or stories or examples you can share about companies that have failed to tell a good story?
Yeah, but they're not around any longer.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Again, I hate to be repeating, but this. All right, I'm going to try to use a client without.
Yeah.
specifying name. So we have a client that is producing technology that could improve your ability to work out, to increase your endurance, to increase your performance, and take you to the next level of fitness. When they came into our doors, we took a look at their content marketing, their social media, and it all had this people working out, just people continuing to work out. And but the product or services was never spoken about. Actually, you couldn't even see the product on their first page of the website.
Wow.
Their opening line was something that someone in some corporate office thought was going to be awesome. But again, we have this kind of what we call the grunt test. And it goes back to the Stone Age caveman kind of thing. Grunt, I was in the military, and a grunt to us was somebody that, had enough to defend us, but maybe wasn't the smartest cookie. So if we're able to convey a message in the top fold of a website, like, again, as soon as you get to that website, you should be able to understand exactly what this company is offering and how to get that product. Top fold.
Yeah.
If you're not conveying that message in the first 5 seconds, somebody's going to think they're in the wrong spot. And if you continue down and see people just working out and no sign of the product, you're going to confuse your end user, and they're not even going to know how they got here or why they're here, and they're going to click off.
Yeah.
So to me, that's an example of
absolutely. And companies
so now we're going to take that company, and we're in the strategy zone where we're coming up with the headline that will engage that user and take them down to 30. We've taken the product into our photo studios, video studios, and made some really engaging content. And we're looking forward to launching that company shortly. Yeah. Or let me say relaunching that campaign.
Yeah. I think a company that failed to understand the story and the customer journey and the story and the part they played is just wait a minute. I got to pause for a minute. I don't know why. Blockbuster Video. Like, Blockbuster Video totally failed to understand what part they played in the story. And they could have dominated. They could have been Netflix if they'd been smart.
Oh my God. As soon as you said that, I was thinking, Netflix in my head, because we used to get them in mail and everything. You didn't even have to go to the store, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden they were like, no, we're just going to have you stream. Yeah. Just go pick the movie you want and watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Netflix, all for a subscriber fee.
Yeah. Netflix rewrote the story, and Blockbuster could have. Blockbuster didn't understand the story of their business and where they were at. And while we're there, let's talk about newspapers. I mean, newspapers when we want to talk about the internet, newspapers had the market cornered in regards to advertising. That they forgot what part they played in the story. They thought that they were newspapers. So you're not in the business of news. No. You're in the business of advertising. You always have been. The news was just a way to, like, it wasn't the primary thing. Your primary business and story was producing stories in order to sell advertising. And then they could have started eBay classifieds. They could have started Craigslist.
Oh God, yes.
And they could have been the hero or the guide in the story and continued. They could have started digital marketing agents. They could have started. So, it's interesting. Like, if people don't, it can be really detrimental. Like you said, if people don't think about, businesses don't think about where they are in the story and them as the guide. And Apple is a brilliant company that turned things around, in my opinion. Like,
oh God, yes. Steve Jobs losing market shares before Think Different.
Oh gosh, Steve Jobs came back from,
thank God,
Pixar and just totally gutted the company. Well, I'd say gutted, but he cut back on all these confusing products, and he really refocused what the story was and who it was about. And I don't technically agree with the direction Tim Cook has taken the company today, but they're very profitable. So who am I to say? But sometimes I wonder if Steve would be rolling in his grave if he knew how many different lines of phones they have now and this, that, and the other thing. But who cares? The point I'm trying to make is that Apple has now pivoted and they've become an amazing storyteller. And it doesn't matter. And they've they're working on a car. Aren't they working on a car, for Pete's sake? They're working on Apple TV and their own streaming service.
Your example with the newspaper.
Yes, exactly.
The newspaper failed to evolve. The movie rental place, which I can't remember.
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster does. Because they didn't pivot and change to the need of that end user. You're not solving my problem. All right, you saw
exactly.
Netflix came along and said, all right, I'll solve your problem of having to return videos and rewind stuff. Here, we're going to mail you the DVD out.
Yeah. So I guess the whole thing is like the challenge of and the mistake of avoiding of not knowing what your part is in the story. Because if you knew your part, and you knew the challenge and you're like, and adapting, because stories change and they can adapt. And especially with the fluidity of the internet, I mean, you pivot in business. And two companies there that
if you rest on your laurels of yesterday, you're doing your company a big disservice because things change constantly. If there's anything that's, consistent, it's change.
Yeah.
Your buyer persona story may change over the years.
Yeah.
And if you don't pivot, like you're saying, you're going to be the blockbuster.
Yeah. And know who you are in the story of the journey of your
always understand
customer.
You're the guide. You're not the hero.
That. Yeah.
Too many clients will come to you and go,
they want to be the hero.
Great are, how many awards we have.
Yeah.
Helping somebody survive with how many awards you have.
What are some of the ways then that they can pivot? What are some of the major changes that you recommend people do to pivot from making themselves out to be the hero to making themselves out to be the guide?
Always a good measuring stick for your campaign is how much engagement.
Okay.
So here we are, we're getting good engagement. Wow, engagement's dropping off. Why? Okay, now let's go back to step one again and review our buyer persona. Has his challenges changed? Has she or him or her challenges has changed? Are we not? Is our product or service not addressing that challenge that they have now?
Yeah. Do you think that third-party endorsements or certification, as well as testimonials, play a role in pivoting you as the guide versus making you out to be the hero?
I actually taught college for a while, and my students, and we were talking years ago, I was like, you're never going to stop learning. You're never always, you're not going to, again, this is a resting on your laurels. Like, I got my degree, I got my certificate. I'm still taking classes today, and I've been in the industry over 20 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do that every day.
Ahead, I need to evolve. If I don't evolve, I'll be unemployed.
Absolutely.
Watching from the sidelines, and I hate being on the sidelines. I want to be in the game.
Me both.
Coach, put me in.
Yeah, right on. Hey, is there one question that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
Matt, you are such a skilled interviewer. Matt, I knew you before you even reached out to ask me for an interview. I've watched. Doing my research, I came across your guys' series. I just want to give you guys kudos for.
Well, thank you.
You've really educated the end users with the research, your diversity. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about SEO. We're going to talk about PPC campaigns. So you definitely have enlightened the users. So thank you very much for
no problem.
What you're doing.
Yeah. Is there one big takeaway you want us to get from this?
Don't rest.
I think I know what it is, but
come with a story. Produce a story that's compelling that your end users gonna
absolutely
see themselves in your website or your social channels.
Whatever marketing channel medium you decide to use.
Marketing channel you're using, please.
Right on. Hey, John, it's been a pleasure having you here. Absolutely. How can our listeners connect with you online if they want to?
MedTechMomentum.com. I'll even give out my email, john@medtechmomentum.com.
Okay. And are you on LinkedIn or Twitter or anything like that?
I'm on LinkedIn. of
Yeah.
course, on Twitter.
Yeah. Right on.
I'm all on the social channels you need to reach me on. So.
Sure. Well, we'll make sure to put your links in the show notes. My apologies, tongue tied. Anyway, John, pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about this subject. It's been very enlightening, and I've really enjoyed it.
Matt, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right on.